We're broadcasting live from our Pokotsil studios right here in Highlands, Harare. My name is Zain Jamo and welcome to the main news. And of course, it's a lovely evening to you, Joyce.
Well, good evening to you, Zain. A warm welcome to our viewers. My name is Joyce Mabika. Susan Masona is on sign language.
And of course, later on, Arthur Evans will be joining us from our Montreux studios.
And Hashem Rombedzi will take us through sport right at the end of this bulletin. For now, let's take a look at our leading stories.
The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe extends the Zika awareness campaign to public transport operators.
In other news, a shift to men's wellness this month of June with emphasis on their mental health.
And in sport, a fierce struggle for victory as Warriors seek redemption when they face Bafana Bafana this Tuesday.
In our first story, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has extended the Zika awareness campaign to public transport operators, assuring the sector of adequate interventions to facilitate smaller denominations for the convenience of the public. We get that report from our business editor, Stanley James.
The importance of the transport sector for industry and commerce to function took center stage during a Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe RBZ bus operators meeting in Harare this Monday. The limited availability of coins, the need to pay fuel using ZIG, and allocation of point-of-sale machines, among other issues, were raised by bus operators.
If we don't have change, where do we get the change? So if the change is made available for operators on a day-to-day basis, I'm sure we are going to overcome this problem.
Our industry has always accepted the local currency and will continue accepting the local currency, and you will not find any problems with it.
Since we have got so many platforms of plastic money, as a country, if you realize it's only Zimbabwe maybe in the region with people who move away, who move with cash in their pockets. Most of the people, they use plastic money. Why can't we just adopt it in the combis, in the buses?
RBZ Governor Dr. John Mshayawanu assured the transport operators that their concerns are over Ziga smaller denominations and a proposed ease of doing business challenges will be solved.
I have a schedule which shows that every bank in this country and every branch of every bank in this country has got 1 ZIG, 2 ZIG, 5 ZIG, 10 ZIG, and 20 ZIG as of Friday. So if there are banks that are deliberately not dispensing ZIG that we have given them, we want to deal with them. We don't know why they are doing it, and they should not be sabotaging the new currency that we have introduced. So after this meeting, Honorable, if you can give me the names of those banks, and I'll deal with them immediately.
The Ziga roadmap with the transport operators created a platform for the central bank to get an insight into challenges facing the sector and focus on long-term solutions. Stanley James, ZBC News, Harare.
The Judicial Service Commission is set to launch the 4th phase of the integrated electronic case management system. The move will result in the digitalization of magistrates' courts as a critical step in ensuring efficient, transparent and accessible justice for all Zimbabweans. We get more from our news crews.
The digitalization of the magistrates' court is imminent as the Judicial Service Commission steps up efforts to modernize and improve efficiency in the judicial system. Briefing the media this Monday at the JSC Open Day and 14th anniversary celebrations in Harare, Chief Magistrate Mrs. Faith Mushure said the Commission is undertaking a comprehensive digital transformation of the judicial system.
The plan is that come 1 January 2025, we are going to launch the IECMS in the Magistrates Court. So that is the biggest achievement in terms of access to justice, because what it means is that even if you're outside the country, you can still access your court documents. You can have a virtual hearing if you consent to it.
She also highlighted that Modalities to assist the public ease into the process have been put in place.
The statutory instrument provides that the JSC is obliged to make sure that there are e-filing centers, which were already established, by the way, but now it has been gazetted that there are supposed to be e-filing centers where someone doesn't have the necessary gadgets. They can go to the nearest magistrate's court and can access the e-filing center at no cost to them.
Meanwhile, the JSC's open day saw the public getting a close-up with court procedures.
Zvidzidziso malessons avari kutipa akanaka ekuti munhu unoziva marights ako
unongosina ruzivo unongochitodawo ruzivo kuti uzive kuti zvinofamba sei nyangwe zvinozokunetsa kumberi.
Chirongwa ichi chakanaka nekuti chinenge chitotiita kuti tivhurike tidzidze nekuti tikubirwa tisingazivi.
Since its establishment in 2010, the JSC has transformed the face of the judiciary by decentralizing courthouses to improve access to the justice delivery system, while also introducing the digitalization of court processes, among other developments.
In Bulawayo, Judicial Service Commission officials interacted with the public with special focus on e-services as the JSC prepares for a paperless regime next year.
Njalo singakwazi lokuthi nxa usulento sulobuzima kumele ubuye uzobona ezomthetho uyabe ungakwazi ukuthi uyenze njani.
Kuqakatheke kakhulu ngoba nxa sihamba phandle lapho umthetho kasiwazi siyakwesaba futhi lokungena ema-courts sibone ngani ama-courts alapho kusincindezela kade they are there to help us.
Ngokuguquka kwezinto ivele siyimpilo evele ikhona khathesi ukuthi abantu bafunde.
The JSC is targeting to extend the integrated electronic case management system to Magistrates Court on the first day of January next year. The Commission celebrated its 14th anniversary countrywide this Monday, dedicating the day to interacting with the public.
JSC staff braved the chilling weather in Gwanda, Matebeleland South Province to reach out to residents of the mining town, unpacking the integrated electronic case management systems, IECMs. The move has been welcomed by residents who are convinced the new system complies with the world standards.
Amanye amacala abe ngamacala anzima so kuyabe kunzima ukuthi umuntu uyembuza ngoba uyabomesaba kodwa nxa liyabe selisebenza over i-internet kuqakathekile kakhulu kutshengisa ukuthi ilizwe lethu lilokuphakama lisiyaphezulu ngempumelelo
khulu ngoba isikhathi kulezinye izinto la nxa yabe kunzima ukuthi uzikhulume kodwa nxa uyabe uzikhulumela usendlini yakho uzikhulumela usebenzisa ifoni yakho
uyabe ungasozidlalisi kakhulu uma usukela khatshana
awusoze uthole ugada usebenzisa imali usiya khona le court.
Provincial Magistrate Ms. Charity Maposa says the goal is to guarantee inclusivity in the justice delivery system.
Abantu, they are very curious, they are excited, and khonokho ukuthi sibuye phakathi kwabo kuyenza ama-court afinyeleleke ebantwini kukhanya ukuthi justice is for everyone, justice is accessible.
The open day coincides with the JSC's 14th anniversary under the theme Phase 4 is coming, the magistrates course going digital.
The Asian Republic of Tajikistan has expressed interest in forming an economic partnership with Zimbabwe as the developing nations look at growing their economies. The details from Abigail Tembo.
Vice President General retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga is in Dushanbe, Tajikistan for the water conference. The Vice President paid a courtesy call on the President of Tajikistan, Mr. Emomali Rahmon. After the discussions, Vice President Chiwenga expressed optimism about forging deeper economic relations with Tajikistan and highlighted Zimbabwe's desire to tap into the Asian nation's expertise in water management, irrigation systems, and hydropower generation.
Greater cooperation between our two countries, and that we shall have this propelled through our foreign ministries. Hopefully they will be able to meet soon, either here in Dushanbe or in Harare, whichever is good, they are going to discuss. We're talking all areas from agriculture, mining, industry, tourism, all the areas of the economic areas which we can cooperate between ourselves and Tajikistan.
Vice President Chiwenga is leading a Zimbabwean delegation to the Dushanbe Water Action Decade Conference. The global event brings together leaders, water experts, and other stakeholders to share knowledge, promote water technologies, and foster innovation in water resource management. Discussions at the water conference will also address the worsening global water scarcity problem caused by climate change. Abigail Tembo, ZBC News, Dushanbe.
Zimbabwe and South Korea are set to deepen cooperation after the inaugural Korea-Africa Summit held in Seoul last week.
The inaugural Korea-Africa Summit held last week provided a platform for dialogue between the African continent and South Korea. In a wide-ranging interview with ZBC News in Harare this Monday, South Korea's representative in Zimbabwe, His Excellency Park Jae-kung, said Korea-Africa relations are expected to grow further and create new opportunities for trade and investment opportunities.
The Korean government understands the relations with Africa is not a matter of choice, it is a must. The reason is very simple, and we all know. The first is the sheer number of the countries in Africa, 54. So when we think of 193 United Nations members, it's over 25%. And so-called Global South, comprised of emerging economies and most developing countries in Africa, the Global South, their voice is increasingly loud and strong. So it becomes very influential.
With Zimbabwe and South Korea celebrating 30 years of diplomatic ties this year, the Memorandum of Understanding in Agriculture and Mining, among other areas, is expected to create mutually beneficial investment opportunities.
With Zimbabwe, there were 3 MOUs. And at the same time, private sector, there were 37 MOUs with 19 countries. So among the 19 countries, with Zimbabwe, so Korean private sector signed MOU, 2 MOUs with Zimbabwe as well. But I think more importantly than that, the last week's event was quite a strong momentum for Korean people to know more and know better about Africa.
The inaugural Korea-Africa Summit saw the host country committing $14 billion United States dollars in export financing to support Korean companies investing in Africa, while increasing its official development assistance to $10 billion United States dollars by 2030. Olin Ndori, ZBC News, Harare.
More than 100,000 hectares of land have been put under wheat production this winter, with government optimistic of achieving the set target of 120,000 hectares ahead of the mid-June planting deadline.
Remarkable progress has been made in wheat this winter, with more than 106,000 hectares out of a targeted 120,000 having been put under this cereal crop. Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development Permanent Secretary, Professor Oberjiri, said farmers are now in the final stages of planting to meet the June 14 extended deadline.
So we have planted as of Saturday 106,705 hectares, which is just 13,000 or so short of our target of 120,000 hectares. So we really want to appreciate what the farmers are doing. We know that there are farmers out there who are finishing off harvesting their maize. There are farmers who received their inputs late, and there are also farmers who were finishing off planting. And those are the farmers that are now racing up to ensure that they catch the 14 June deadline.
The country has already surpassed last season's target, where farmers planted 90,000 hectares and produced 465,000 metric tons of wheat. This season, the country is targeting to produce 600,000 metric tons of the cereal crop, as the government food security drive remains on course. John Nandara, ZBC News, Harare.
A multi-sector stakeholder initiative is opening avenues for for rural and small-scale farmers to overcome challenges encountered in accessing the lucrative export market.
The production of high-value crops such as peas for export is a lucrative venture, and many small-scale farmers are venturing into this industry. But it comes with its fair share of challenges, and if not done properly, farmers can incur huge losses. Hence, one of the local companies has conducted a field day in Marondera in order to conscientize farmers on the standards required for export.
We've realized that there's a lot of hurdles and obstacles that are preventing our communal farmers from accessing these markets. So we are trying to break those barriers.
Experts gave farmers an insight into the meticulous processes from planting to harvesting of peas for export.
If farmers want to enter in the export market, then that means they have to follow what the market says. If the market is saying use chemicals which have got 3 days intervals, or which has got 0 days intervals or 17 days intervals, they have to follow those guidelines.
Mapods are exportable atoendesa ku UK or EU. Mapods anetwana tudiki. Nekuti peas zedu dzazikunoda nso. Zotorwa zvatoita kumba to big ayo. It's going to be consumed in pods. Saka achachekwa mapods ayo. Wesikwachi mu plate. Saka peas dzese dzine zvimabhombi dzese. It's overgrown peas. Azidiwe.
Farmers welcomed the initiative as an eye-opener in breaking into the export market.
Such field days are very, very important so that they equip us as farmers on what actually needs to be done and also help us not to cut corners.
You need munhu akatoenda kuchikoro akadzidza about peas, because ukangojamba kana chemical one kana kuti kudiridza ka one watosangana nema problems akawanda.
Returns in this sector are also attracting the Zimbabwean diaspora community who are coming back to invest in the booming sector.
I'm not based in Zimbabwe, but at the moment I'm now traveling so that I can also see how my farm is operating and how our produce will then be able to reach the UK.
For other diasporans who are listening, I think this is an opportunity for those who want to do any business. Is now open for everybody. So now it's been made possible. You can get land from the government.
The first ever black-owned pack house in Harare, operated by Kuminda, is facilitating exports for once marginalized farmers, helping to create sustainable value chains.
A lot of farmers have been failing to produce because they didn't have markets. They didn't know what to farm. They didn't know where to take what they farm when they do. So when we put up this facility, we saw a lot of interest. We've got a number that we're targeting ourselves, but we also have a lot of interest from different provinces around Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe's horticultural industry is on a path to recovery thanks to efforts by the country's trade promotion bodies, Zimtrade, and other local firms such as Kuminda, which are helping local farmers to access the export markets. Owen Mandova, ZBC News, Marondera.
A government has facilitated the translocation of more than 80 buffaloes from Eaglemont Range in Chiredzi to Nwanensi Conservancy in Mwenezi in a movement to curb the spread of animal diseases.
The translocation of the 84 buffaloes has brought relief to communities battling human-wildlife conflict near Eaglemont Range. Besides destroying crops, the wild animals also pose a foot-and-mouth disease risk in the area.
Saka hurumende yatigonera chaizvo pfuwo zvedu zvazvichipera nezvirwere zvaikonzereswa nemhuka dzacho idzidzi dzino zvazvadai tinofara nazvo.
Pari pamwombe sesi takarashikirwa nemhuri dzedu 5 gori dzine mazamu dzese, saka ndopatachiona kubatsirikawo nemhuri dzedu.
Masvingo Provincial Veterinary Director Dr. Kramer Manyetu reiterated the importance of the operation in communities around buffalo conservancies.
Kuti panga pasina fence yakasimba kutenderedza conservancy, mhuka dzichipota dzichibuda dzichinodya muminda yevanhu, kukonzera samaconflict atoti human wildlife conflict. Saka tinofunga kuti muvhu yatabvumirana nemuridzi wenyati idzi kuti dzibve pano panzvimbo will help us in a big way to control foot and mouth in this area.
The initiative is part of government's drive focusing on strengthening animal disease surveillance and control systems in line with the Livestock Recovery and Growth Plan.
This kind of approach to control foot and mouth disease, at the same time making the communities are safe, we are going to spread it to other conservancies, targeting those conservancies without good biosecurity.
Foot and mouth is high on the Veterinary Services Department's agenda as it seeks to safeguard the national herd. Geima Tambo, ZBC News, Chiredze.
Government has pledged to ensure the completion of the broadcasting industry's digitalization program.
The Committee for Media, Information and Broadcasting Services embarked on a familiarization tour of ZBC's Pocket Seal studios in Harare this Monday. ZBC Board Chairperson Ms. Helen Rushwaya noted the importance of the familiarization tour by the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee in the completion of the digitalization project.
The Parliamentary Portfolio Committee made this visit and this tour to have a better understanding, a better appreciation of the work that ZBC is doing, as well as to have a better appreciation of the digitalization project and what work has been done to date and what work is yet to be done.
Chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, Honorable Caston Mateo, highlighted the need to urgently work on corporate governance and the retooling of the national broadcaster.
We want to familiarize ourselves with ZBC and its issues and what is needed for the national broadcaster to be the #1 station in Southern Africa. As Parliament, this is going to be one of our biggest inquiries to digitalize ZBC so that it can be in sync with other stations that we know out there. But we are happy with what we have seen so far, and we are happy with the work that is being done at ZBC. But the issue here is there has to be some funding. ZBC has to be funded.
18 transmitters have so far been installed around the country under the digitalization program. Tarema Duyu, ZBC News, Harare.
Well, remember, these and more stories are available on our website. It is www.zbcnews.co.zw.
Or you could get in touch with us on our social media handles, that is at ZBC News Online.
Still to come in this bulletin. In other stories, a shift to men's wellness this month of June with emphasis on their mental health.
And on sport, a fierce struggle for victory as Warriors seek redemption when they face Bafana Bafana this Tuesday. The main news takes a break. We'll be back with you shortly.
Zimbabwe's favorite.
Pizza Inn. Must be the pizza. That's it. The regular football season is over.
What?
Yes, it's over.
Oh no.
But not for us here at Supersport. We've got a big deal coming your way.
Sorry, that's actually a pretty big deal.
Catch all 51 games of Euro 2024. Stay connected to DSTV to watch all the action on Supersport.
Welcome back from the break. The road rehabilitation program is continuing countrywide, with Nyanga Ruangwe Road, popularly known as Binya Road, being tarred.
Ruangwe Road, popularly known as Binya Road, which has historical significance, which goes back to the liberation struggle, is now being tarred. The development has excited villagers and local leadership in Nyanga, who view the road as the nervous center of economic activities in the district.
Turikufara isusu nemagadzirwa ari kuitwa rodhi yedu Binya Road kunoku kuNyanga.
Rodhi yedu ikapera kugadzirwa mafezi mitengo yemichovha inenge yaderera.
Zvirimwa zvevarimi zvinonga zvakukwanisa kuenda kumaketi nyore.
Tine chikoro chine mbiri muZimbabwe chinonzi icho Nyanga Boys High kana kuti Marist. Mukaona chikoro chiri very popular chine mbiri, asi road infrastructure yekuenda ikoko yanga yakashata. Saka tinoda kuti titende nebasa riri kubatwa pano.
Road ino yatiri mairi, it's about 86 km stretch inobatanidza inobva from Nyanga to Ruangwe. And the road iyoyi ine ma-institution mahombe, ma-big schools, ma-hospitals.
The Deputy Minister of Transport and Infrastructural Development, Honorable Joshua Sako, is satisfied with the progress made so far.
Tiri kuno kuNyanga tichiona mugwagwa unobva muno muNyanga wakananga kunonzi kuRwenya.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Well, June is a very important month if you're a man, and that's because it has been set aside as Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Strong support structures have also been put in place as a key in preventing men from suffering in silence.
A real man does not cry, and a real man does not share his problems. These are some of the myths inculcated in men from a young age, but have come with dire consequences such as suicide and mental health challenges.
Society has changed from the traditional rural setup where we had all kinds of uncles and people around us, and men had a way of expressing themselves at several meetings. And now we are urbanized and it's each man for himself. We need to create a system that will put men in a place where they can express themselves and relate one to the other.
Many cultures, they say, men, you mustn't show to people that you are in trouble. A man must not cry, don't share your problems, otherwise people will think that you are weak, which is quite a dangerous thing.
As focus shifts to men's mental health this month, religious leader Reverend Useni Sibanda is convinced the church has a role to play in destigmatizing men's mental health.
The church needs to develop an infrastructure that can be able to help men to talk. In most cases, we just do services and men's fellowship, but we don't develop that safe space where the men can speak to someone about challenges that is facing, mentally, financial challenges, even sexual challenges.
Ngujeni Psychiatric Hospital in Bulawayo also houses men who have been affected by depression and anxiety, with calls for men's mental health to be introduced at a tender age.
We should really teach our young children, our boys, that they should come out in the open, not to make them macho men who are supposed to be good at everything, that they are actually equally at risk of depression, they are actually at risk of anxiety, and all these things which we think are reserved for the weak sex.
Various men's conferences have been lined up for this month with emphasis on men's mental health. Grace Sibanda, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
Zimbabwean parliamentarians are working with Africa Risk Capacity to bolster the country's preparedness for climate-related disasters.
An engagement between Zimbabwean parliamentarians and officials from the African Risk Capacity was held in Bulawayo. This comes at a time the country has ratified the African Risk Capacity Treaty and is set to receive a drought insurance payout. High on the agenda was the effective management of climate risk financing and strategies for integrating climate risk management into national budgets.
We want to continue to support the efforts of ARC, even as we approve our budgets. We are looking forward to Minister of Finance coming up with the 2025 national budget, which is going to have a component of the premiums that are going to be paid to ARC.
The government of Zimbabwe must invite other partners to join the replica program, where they can also be members of the African risk capacity. So this is what, as members of parliament, we recommended to say government must take an initiative to invite other partners. They come on board so that when the money comes, it's also maybe multiplied and it can go a long way in terms of assisting our vulnerable communities.
Head of Government Services for East and Southern Africa, Mr. Kofi Konine, elaborated on ARC's expectations.
The country also should be thinking in terms of ownership, also have its contribution to the premium. And that's something that I think the member of parliament, they want to also approve the budget. So they should also be ensuring that in the national budget, there is also a budget line that's also catered for the national premium contribution on an annual basis, so that Zimbabwe can continue coverage.
Government and its replica partners, Start Network and World Food Program, will receive a total of $31.8 million United States dollars next month, with 28 districts set to benefit from the drought insurance payout. Yolanda Moy, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
Food security will always be topical, and it is increasingly becoming a reality for Binga district of Matabeleland North Province, with a new 20-hectare irrigation scheme and horticulture gardens having been established.
An engagement between Zimbabwean parliamentarians and officials from the African Risk Capacity was held in Bulawayo. This comes at a time the country has ratified the African Risk Capacity Treaty and is set to receive a drought insurance payout. High on the agenda was the effective management of climate risk financing and strategies for integrating climate risk management into national budgets.
We want to continue to support the efforts of ARC, even as we approve our budgets. We are looking forward to Minister of Finance coming up with the 2025 national budget, which is going to have a component of the premiums that are going to be paid.
We apologize for that, viewers. We just repeated a story that we had previously run, but in other news, we moved to Matabeleland South, where one of the longest-serving chiefs in Matabeleland South Province, Chief Malaba of Kezi, has died. He was 86. According to Matobo District Development Coordinator, Mr. Obey Chaputsira, the traditional leader died at Chelanyamba Hospital on Saturday. And with that, we've come to the end of our Montrose crossover. My name is Arthur C. Evans. We take it to Pocket Hill for more news.
Oh, thank you very much to Arthur Evans and our crew at Montrose Studios for giving us that part of the bulletin. We continue from Pocket Hill. More than 50 children with albinism have received visual aids in a move expected to improve their welfare.
Children with albinism often face a number of challenges, chief among them visual impairment, which poses difficulties in their day-to-day lives and education. This will, however, be a thing of the past for more than 50 beneficiaries who received visual aids donated by local opticians in Harare this Monday.
Apa sisina dambudziko chero zvokuti achabatsira nerumwe ruoko kuti anyatsoona nekutsinzinira masoko aita zvamawa pamagirasi tinotenda kuti achanyatsoona zvakanaka.
Pamabhuku pamahomework kuti atarise bhuku rinenge achimunetsa anenge asinganyatsoona zvakanaka. Saka aizonyatsoda kuti asvitse pedyo kuti akwanise kunyatsoona kuti atambe pazuva dzimweni dzenguvawo anenge achivhara nemaoko kuti anyatsoona.
Toda kutenda zvikuru nechirongwa chiri pano chekubatsirika kwevana nemaspectacles. Vachabatsirika zvikuru kuchikoro sezvo tanga tichiwana makozi mazhinji kubva kuvatungamiri vezvikoro masiku hedzi kuti dai maona zvekuita kuti vana vane albinism vabatsirika kana havachanyatsoona zvakanaka.
The donation is just the beginning of bigger things to come.
We realized kuti pane a need yekuita partner with our cause association to help the albinism. So we had our lenses in stock at our side so that we can help.
The partnership between Albino Charity Organization of Zimbabwe and local opticians is expected to benefit more than 300 children with albinism across the country. Patience Nyagato, CBC News, Harare.
The Chivi Central community is enjoying the benefits of government's developmental programs, which include borehole sinking and road rehabilitation alongside food aid.
Despite Chivi being a dry region, the Second Republic has made efforts to ensure villagers have access to water for domestic use and agricultural production. With the country battling the El Nino-induced drought, government has also come to the rescue of villagers through food aid.
Takagona development munzvimbo zvikoro pachizhozhowa pakaiswa makombiyuta izvo zvipari kuvakwa block mvura yainetsa muno kukuripewa zvibhorani zvakaripewa zvibhorani zvinokwana 8 muno muward 18
tinokagadzira mugwagwa uye tiri kutarisira kutowedzera kumugadzira tichita kuti bhazi rifambe rirerutse vanhu vachibudana pano pagwitima richienda kutomuruvati.
Addressing villagers in Chivi Central Sward 18 at the weekend, area legislator Honorable Xavier Maoneke expressed gratitude to the constituents for supporting the ruling ZANU-PF party, imploring them to embrace the Second Republic's developmental programs.
Tabuya kuzotenda vabereki kuvhotera kwavakaita musangano wezANU-PF, kuvhotera kwavakaita president edu baba vamunangagwa, kuvhotera kwavakaitawo MP nekuvhotera kwavakaitawo kansela wedu uye nokumira nomusangano wedu wezANU-PF.
The Second Republic is working on establishing village business units, including community gardens, under the Rural Development 8.0 model to ensure improved livelihoods in rural communities. Ms. Martina, ZBC News, Chivi.
Beyond our country's borders, South Africa's Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has announced the 14th of June as the day for the first sitting of the National Assembly after the country held general elections.
Chief Justice Zondo announced that the South African National Assembly will sit at 10 a.m. this Friday. This comes after the declaration of the 2024 national and provincial elections results. Zondo has officially received the lists of members heading to the National Assembly and the provincial legislatures before handing them over to the Secretary of Parliament. The Chief Justice will preside over the first sitting, which will swear in members of the National Assembly. The President will also be elected during the first sitting alongside the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. The South African Constitution stipulates that Parliament must be constituted within 14 days of the declaration of the election results.
Over 100 people have been killed in attacks by the Allied Democratic Forces rebels in about 5 villages of the DRC. According to reports, the attacks, which started on the 4th of last month, also saw the assailants stealing 25 motorcycles and setting the houses ablaze. The affected residents have since fled their homes, taking refuge in the western part of the city of Beni and in Mabalako, where the General Reference Hospital is overwhelmed with patients. Reports suggest that the ADF, which is now based in eastern Congo, has mounted frequent attacks, further destabilizing a region where a number of militant groups are active.
The main news takes a break. We'll be back with you shortly.
What's wrong? Needs a little something. Needs a little something. Needs a little something. Needs a little something. Needs a little something.
KFC's got the sauce. Introducing our spicy range flavored with Tabasco. It's finger-licking good. Zimbabwe's favorite.
Pizza Inn. Must be the pizza.
The Tajikstan hitmaker was born in Chipinge in 1975, but it was not until 2004 that he became a familiar voice in the local entertainment industry after winning the 2001 Chibuku Road to Fame music competition in Harare. Despite having earlier been labelled the bad boy of local music because of his controversial lyrics, Moyana has turned a new leaf.
taishandisa trading name yekunzi Ghetto Express. Ku-Ghetto Express takagumisira kuimba yenzi toita zviripo. Papasina zita remunhu kunzi ndichakati tiri mumbare mwedu. Saka Ghetto Express takagumisira kuimba nzi inonzi toita zviripo. Tikaimba inonzi tidzoka kumashure, tikaimba inonzi mari yako chete, tikaimba inonzi tarisiro. Tarisiro iyoyo ndeyandakazonochinja ndaona kuti haina kuteererwa nekuti yaimba zvakanaka singaiti. Ndikazoichinja ndikazodzoka ndichiridza magitara acho semagitara iwawo.
A minor and a grandfather of 5, Moyana says he draws inspiration from his daily life.
Ndakaita maalbums akusvika kuma 9 manje. Kwanza kushanda hangu na Mdarama Cheso. Nana Paradise MS Sugar. Muli Golomio Gasa.
Breaking traditional norms, Moyana's wife, Emily, is both his manager and backing vocalist.
Pandatanga kushanda na baba, I think that we goreno ndirechinayi. Tinoshanda zvakanaka, vakandita as a manager, ndini backing vocal wao pakuimba.
Moyana hopes to one day follow in the footsteps of great Sungura musicians such as the late great Leonard Dembo and living legends like Nicholas Zakaria and Alec Macheso. Geima Tambo, ZBC News, Chiredzi.
And that's our look at the arts, taking us to a break. And when we return, we join Anna Shemrombedzi in the Sports Corner. Stay with us.
Zimbabwe's favorite. Pizza Inn. Must be the pizza.
Welcome to the Sports Corner. Anna Shemrombedzi here with the latest in the world of sport. Just to get an update across Limpopo, Warriors head coach Jairus Tapera is set to make changes to the team that played Lesotho for their Tuesday World Cup qualifier clash with the Bafana at Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein.
After a disappointing 2-0 loss to Lesotho on Friday, the Zimbabwe Warriors are now chasing an upset against neighbour South Africa at their own backyard. The match is penciled for this Tuesday at the giant Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein, which Bafana last used 14 years ago. Ahead of the showdown, Warriors head coach Jairus Tapera is rallying his charges to grind a result.
We are really, it's unfortunate we lost the last game against Lesotho, and we take this one as a new game, and obviously we respect Bafana because they are at home. But we are Zimbabwe, we are the Warriors. We are going to really put a very strong fight, a fight that we think can give us a result, regardless of the respect. But when we start playing there, I think it's going to be very open in the entertaining game for the supporters.
For Captain Marshall Munetsi, the Warriors have put behind their loss to Lesotho and are focused on the task ahead.
I think as players, when you lose such a game, you will want to bounce back as soon as possible. So I think this is the right kind of game that we need, and I know that everyone is focused because we know how much it means to people back at home, and a lot of people also here in South Africa as Zimbabweans. So I know that everyone is eager. Even though we lost the game, we knew we tried our best, and we just have to take this one for us and for our families and for the people back home.
On the other hand, South Africa need nothing short of a victory for their World Cup qualification hopes to remain intact. Zimbabwe will go into battle without Divine Lunga, who is nursing an injury, and Andrew Mbeba, who is suspended after accumulating a yellow card. The Warriors are rooted at the basement of Group C, and only maximum points will put their World Cup qualification quest back on track. The 9 group winners will qualify for the expanded World Cup, set to feature 48 teams for the first time in the tournament's history. Canada, Mexico, and the United States of America will co-host the 23rd edition of the World Cup. Ntokozi Dube, ZBC News, Bloemfontein.
The Zimbabwe Women Premier Soccer League interim board is leaving no stone unturned in its quest to introduce a professionalism in the top flight. The issue was topical during the league's mid-season extraordinary general meeting at the weekend.
All the 16 women's football clubs were represented at the EGM, which addressed a cocktail of issues, including ratifying laws and improving matchday activities.
We can now safely say the rules and regulations of the Zimbabwe Women's Soccer League
ratified.
Key resolutions from the meeting include ratification of the WPSL rules and regulations, as well as the inclusion of 4 regions of women's football and 10 provinces in the ZIFA constitution. The issue of perimeter fencing and police details at all matches was agreed upon to prevent match invasion and ensure safety of players and officials. There was also an agreement on having at least 3 midweek fixtures and engaging the corporate world for sponsorship. Meanwhile, former champions Correctional Queens suffered their first defeat of the season after a 1-0 defeat by former champions Black Rhinos at 2 Brigade. Platinum Queens continued with their impressive start after thumping Highlanders 3-1, while Harare City went down 2-0 to Chapungu. Mutare City remembered how to win after edging Whipping Girls Zeterapi Queens 2-1, while Conjit Academy and MSU played out a goalless draw.
The Zimbabwe women tennis team started their Billie Jean King Cup campaign on a high note after a 2-1 victory over Madagascar in Kenya this Monday.
Started off their quest to qualify to the Billie Jean Cup Euro Africa Group 2 on a good note, with the country's top seed Rofaro Magara comfortably seeing off Irinani at Santonioni 6-3, 6-3 in the first round of the day. In the second match, Sasha Shimez had to sweat for a 7-5, 7-5 victory over Miley Iranaova. Despite losing to the Madagascan pair in the doubles, Magara and Shimez moved on to the next round set for this Tuesday. The Billie Jean Cup is contested by 12 nations in a group formats mainly played on regional basis. Group 1 to 4 are divided into regions: Africa, Americas, Oceania, and Europe. At Group 1 and 2 level, Europe and Africa merged to form a Euro-Africa zone. The Billie Jean Cup is the female equivalent of the Davis Cup, and it was previously known as the Fed Cup. Zimbabwe is yet to make its mark in the competition with their current position in a group.
But right now,
started MMA last year. I've been training for about a year and some months. This session was it's pretty intense.
Session was phenomenal. Started MMA in 2020, around about COVID-19, and just been taking off from there.
Session is very good. And the movement I started last September.
Today's training session, this has been good. It was great training with the champion, Luis Mataya.
24-year-old Luis Mataya is the current African champion for mixed martial arts and is on a drive to promote growth of the sport.
There's no limit to what I imagine us achieving. As you know, like Themba Gorembo is now a big name in the UFC worldwide. That can only happen in mixed martial arts. So for us Zimbabweans to have that here, it really is a blessing. Last year I had an idea to train 10 young guys that will compete at the African Championships and that will go on to become mixed martial arts coaches. I plan to open gyms in different cities, different parts of Harare.
The Ministry of Sports, Arts and Culture recognizes mixed martial arts as a sporting code through the Zimbabwe Mixed Martial Arts Association. Farai Gwaze, ZBC News, Harare.
Mixed martial arts concludes the Sports Corner tonight. It's back to you guys.
Oh, many thanks to Anna Shemrombedzi there for giving us that detailed update in sport. And that concluding this news bulletin. But before we go, we'll give you the stories that made the headlines.
The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe extends the ZIG awareness campaign to public transport operators.
A shift to men's wellness this month of June with emphasis on their mental health.
And on sport, a fierce struggle for victory as Warriors seek redemption when they face Bafana this Tuesday.
And that's it for the main news for tonight. And remember to stay warm. It is quite nippy out there.
Yeah, it's very chilly, it's cold, so you have to keep warm. And there's a bed bug going around, Joyce.
A bed bug going around, so make sure you are protected. And that's the end of tonight's main news from myself, Joyce Mabika.
And myself, Zain Jamo, as well as the crew behind the scenes. It's
good night.
Good night.
of May 2022. The history of Korea dates back 5,000 years ago,